Next, on the best of John Miller, meet a dental hygienist whose photo collection will have you grinning from ear to ear. Crafting stone into beautiful music, a local sculptor turns rock into something that'll take your breath away. It's a style that's a little rusty. John takes us to Middleton to see a very unusual metal barn. And you can't stop a dog on the move. How many times have you heard that one? We show you the skateboarding pup straight ahead.
Discover the lighter side of Northwest living as Idaho's News Channel 7 presents the best of John Miller.
Hello, I'm Mark Johnson, and I'd like to welcome you to the very first episode of a brand new weekly program we call The Best of John Miller. Sit down, relax, and enjoy. Now, we've scoured the News Channel 7 archives to find some of the most interesting people, places, and animals you're likely to see anywhere, and told in a way that can only be told by our John Miller. But up first, how many times a week do you floss? You know, I'm talking the dentures. Be honest now, because dental hygienists like Lynn Van Horn have literally heard it all. But as John Miller explains, Lynn says she can quite literally picture you flossing a whole lot more.
Here we go.
Dental hygienist Lynn Van Horn uses these kinds of picks, and now these kinds of picks, knowing when asked how often we clean between our teeth, we mostly tell dirty little lies.
I think that probably happens sometimes.
Right. So here you want the proof.
Exactly. So I just had people, when they go on vacation, send me their flossing photos.
Now this Dr. Seuss of dental care has amassed a whole book of flossy glossies in the park and in the dark and in the chair and everywhere. 4x6s of 2 and 3 people pulling thread through their teeth at a time.
Are you featured in the book, Lewis?
Yeah. Lewis Holstein doesn't lie. He doesn't floss much either.
No, I don't.
But maybe he will once he reads Oh, the Places You'll Floss and gets on board with the boaters and bus drivers who grace the pages of patients seen flossing around the world. Goofy photos from the Great Wall of China and beyond.
You can floss just about anywhere.
Even in the middle of nowhere.
I'm quite pleased with the one from the South Pole. That's probably one of my favorites.
The Eiffel floss.
The Eiffel floss, those are quite nice shots.
You've got the Leaning Tower of floss.
Mostly it's my patients, but every once in a while I do take my camera with me when I'm out and about.
Ready to call in the floss police.
Which I notice you have on horseback.
Yes.
Lynn even caught the Blue Angels once.
They did make it quite clear that they don't floss while they're flying.
Oh, good. But here are some people who do.
That was one of my flight attendants who's a patient.
Just like Lewis.
Yeah, I'm going on vacation at the end of the month down to the Grand Canyon.
We don't have the Grand Canyon.
Just kids and couples at cathedrals, everyone and their dog, under the impression and under the water that if they make a vow to care for their teeth,
Dentistry can be fun.
especially on film.
Don't be a dummy. Floss, right?
Just once a day.
A healthy tooth gathers no floss. Don't forget about that. All right, now for one of the weirdest jobs you'll never have, mainly because John Lundeen already has it and wouldn't trade it for the world. As our John Miller found out, it's not your average occupation or your average fish story.
Of all the people trying to see the salmon swimming at Seattle's Ballard Locks,
You're looking at coho right now.
no one's watching closer than John Lundeen.
Sometimes there's 2,000 or 3,000 fish in here, and other times there might only be 15 or 20.
It's John's job to know the difference.
I'm a fisheries technician.
But most people know you as the fish counter.
Yes, that's true. And right now we're counting coho, and we expect about 40 to 50,000.
Climbing up this fish ladder past this window, and the man in the Raiders hat,
Definitely a Raiders hat.
eyes and thumb at the ready.
Sometimes it's just one after another. Nice coho.
So do you have a name for that one?
Number 5 right now.
So when you're sitting here checking out some of these cruisers that come through here, what are you thinking?
That I'd like to be out there catching some of them. Nobody loves to fish more than I do, but it's a worthy cause. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to manage these fisheries and collect the data.
John's hourly count determining there are lots of fish,
27 coho.
but apparently no more paper.
Somebody's got to buy you a piece of paper for Christmas.
Yeah, I usually leave it in my office. This is the 18th step in the ladder.
Sometimes during the slow hours, I see you got to like double as part-time tour guide.
Sockeye, don't have any spots on them.
Educating tourists about the salmon's amazing 10,000-mile round trip.
0.1% come back to spawn.
And they get to meet you when they come back.
They get to see me. The windows here allow them to check out summer fashion.
Yeah.
And
Raiders hat looks
and
good.
the Raiders hat, they're all big Raider fans.
A lot of people would say your job is kind of repetitive.
It is, but I love it. I can't see myself doing anything else.
Then click in the counter.
Then click in the counter.
That's great. You know, John has been part of Idaho life for over 10 years. He originally came to us from a station in Iowa, and in his very first story for Channel 7, he contrasted the differences between Idaho and Iowa. Here now is a special peek back at a young feature reporter in the making.
First, let's talk geography. From border to border, Iowa and Idaho are about 900 miles apart. That's about 5 inches on your average Rand McNally, a long way in either case. Exactly where is Idaho? Well, just ask an Iowan.
That's right next to Colorado, Montana, you know, the western states.
Close, but not quite. It seems Idahoans have a better grasp of the geography of the Midwest.
Where's Iowa? It's over, I think, just below Minnesota.
Yes, it is.
Next category, agriculture. This is an Iowa harvest. Ask any Idahoan and they'll tell you Iowans harvest mostly soybeans and
Corn.
Likewise, an Iowan might guess Idahoans produce lots of sugar beets and
Potatoes.
That's
Corn.
and
Potatoes.
a toss-up in agriculture. Let's move to everyone's favorite, state capitals. This is Idaho's state house. This is Iowa's. Would an Idahoan know where to find it?
Des Moines.
Des Moines, yeah.
Yes, it is.
And of course, Iowans know the capital of Idaho is
Farragut. Or Boise. Boise.
Finally, an Iowan's abstract thoughts about Idaho.
It's kind of shaped like a gun.
Okay, perhaps this Idaho hitchhiker sums it up best.
And a college student from Notre Dame picked me up early in the morning. It was January, it was cold. He said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from Idaho." He said, and he thought a minute, and he said, "Idaho?" Why, he said, "That's clear the other side of Iowa, isn't it?"
Later, on the Best of John Miller, something for expectant dads to fuss about as they learn what pregnancy is all about. And some people just need a little more space in the world. Ahead after the break, John introduces us to a man who found his space, nearly cut off from the rest of the world by a piece of concrete, when the Best of Miller returns. Welcome back to the Best of John Miller. It was back in 1993. John met up with a man who crafted stone into beautiful shapes and beautiful music. Take a look and listen.
For 4 hours each day, you'll find Rod Nelson by the window of his garage, working in the shadow of West Mountain.
I usually have a model or a drawing that I follow and work it with crude tools at first.
This is usually what he's working on, a chunk of Idaho serpentine he picks up along the road, or in this case, California alabaster. He's turning stone into sculpture.
This will be striking.
Once finished, this project will likely wind up here at the real estate agency where Rod works. You see, this is also his art gallery, where you'll find mother and child, sated serpentine, and check this out, a 5-pound alabaster stone-a-lin. Makes you wonder what Fred Flintstone might say.
Now, I don't actually play this. I can just make it squeak a little bit.
So we called in local fiddle pro Kenny Pyle.
So you're fairly impressed with it, though?
Yeah, it's good. I couldn't do it. Nelson also works with wood and bronze, sometimes a combination of the two. Each piece, he says, is an experiment, and all of them are different.
The only common thread running through them is that they're kind of sensual to touch. They're all smooth lines.
Oh, and speaking of smooth, beware, this sculptor and real estate broker never misses a sales opportunity.
Sure, say, here, we've got some nice art here. It'll go in your new house for you.
Boy, I'll say that's spectacular. You know, if you're afraid of heights, afraid of the dark, or afraid of large masses of water, don't stop by Bill Johnston's place. What some would call a gigantic house of horrors, Bill Johnston just calls it home sweet home. John took a tour back in '97.
Bill Johnston is living the American dream. He's got a house on a hill, his own mailbox, and one incredibly long driveway. Now, if you're thinking a dam is a large concrete wall, you're right. Bill's dam is 350 feet high and far too wide for a big, sweeping, majestic panning shot, although I tried.
I still give tours whenever people call me.
And he answers a lot of stupid questions.
So, like, you're getting ready for bed at night, you get the teeth brushed and the lights out, and you get in bed. Do you ever think, oh, shoot, I left the water on?
No, not really.
But Bill will tell you there's a lot more to this dam than you'd think. And one fact he says they forgot to put on this plaque.
That's a long way down. How many steps?
33 from right here to that lower level, and then there's 77 to the operating gallery.
All kinds of tunnels and corridors and pumps and that eerie roaring sound.
That's the water going through right over the top of your head.
Over my head?
Yep.
Hey. We got a leak here, Bill.
Yeah. Every dam in the world has a leak.
And you know what this is? It's 150 feet of spiral staircase screwed right up through the middle of this 82-year-old dam. There are cranks and gauges, all so Bill can prevent a flood if need be, not to mention a lot of light bulbs.
Probably about a gazillion.
And about a gazillion gallons of water shooting right out Bill Johnston's driveway.
A lot to keep an eye on.
Yeah. A big responsibility.
But you like it.
I love it.
Some expectant dads get a shot at being mom. Later, John shows us a suit that makes men feel what it's like to be pregnant. And next, a barn that can hold up to the test of time. We show you an unusual metal building when the best of John Miller returns. Welcome back, everybody. If you know the state of Idaho, then you know there's a lot to see along the state's back roads. A lot of unusual sights, including a place in Middleton you could say is one of a kind, different enough at least to attract our John Miller's attention.
Middleton's never been famous for its burnt orange sunsets or burnt orange anything for that matter, but maybe it should be.
It's one of those things.
One of those things you almost have to hear to appreciate.
There's Quaker State, Halvoline, Sinclair, Macmillan Oil, Pennzoil, RPM. There's another Quaker State way up.
Lee Moberly's father built the place in 1920.
I remember milking cows and stacking hay in the hay mow.
But he remembers nothing of motor oil.
There must be close to 2,800 on that roof, just on this side. But I don't think the tin was nailed on until late 40s, early 50s.
By the guy who bought the barn from Lee's father, a man with visions of aluminum siding, but a barn full of oil cans.
It must have taken a long time to cut those cans and straighten them out and nail them down.
Tens of hundreds of thousands.
And nobody really knows why and, whatever.
Piece of Americana you got here or what?
I guess.
Just a place to keep the cows.
There you go.
Well, how's she keep the rain out?
Well, not very well.
It seems oil cans and water don't mix either.
Yeah.
But Dwayne and Lee know, after 50 years, those old cans still contain a one-of-a-kind landmark as memorable as a Middleton sunset.
Now, you might think that something that unusual would get some national attention, and it may have. Some old-timers in Middleton tell us that the barn was once featured in Life magazine, but we were unable to dig up any evidence. Coming up later, it's like being pregnant. Without the nausea and strange food cravings, that is. John takes a spin in a pregnancy simulation suit. And next, meet a dog who gets bored easily. Get it? Bored? Meet the skateboarding pup when we continue with the best of John Miller. You know, pet owners are known for bragging about their pets. I once had a dog that if you'd asked to play dead, she would, simulating what Chicago Bears do during football games. But one local woman showed John she didn't need to brag. Her dog took care of all the talking.
There's something very weird about the Fulweiler family. You gotta be kidding me. Who's a better skateboarder, your brother or your dog?
My dog. I think we should buy a new dog.
Yeah. No, I think your dog's okay. It just needs longer legs.
Lucky's very talented. He's always been talented since he was just a little puppy.
Teaching that dog how to skateboard.
What do the neighbors think of all this, Alec?
Well, they think it's pretty awesome.
Your kids are bright. Your dog is bright too, huh?
Yeah, it runs in the family.
Yeah. He's heading in my truck right now. Okay.
Yeah, he's pretty inquisitive.
By now, you're probably wondering if Lucky even enjoys skateboarding. Well, this is his come help me look, and that's his okay I'm ready look, and here's his out of my way look. Why?
I don't know.
But 13-year-old Jason speculates it's simply because Lucky is a spaz. And if there is something weird about the Fulweiler family and their skate punk dog,
I think it's pretty cool.
Ooh. Now, this dog does more than just skateboard around. When he tires of the wheels, he hops off and kicks into a little soccer action in the backyard. Coming up next on the Best of John Miller, the stork is coming. Meet some dads getting a realistic look at pregnancy when we come back. Finally, John Miller goes way, and I mean way out of his way to bring us a story you will simply not forget. It's the story that starts out with the old saying, if only you could know. Here's John.
Marco Bates and his wife are expecting a baby, but Marco never expected this.
Okay, Marco, here's our belly.
If you feel sorry for Marco, you're already failing Mary Stevely's class.
What we've got here is a 6-pound head. Okay. There's also a little pendulum in here with a weight on it, so every time he moves, it's like baby moving. Okay?
And in about 8 seconds, Marco is about 8 months pregnant, a la the empathy belly. How's it feel?
A little different.
And there you go, picking up the clothes. Because heaven forbid they pick up their own clothes, you know.
Now, I'm not sure if the empathy belly is specifically designed to humiliate Dad.
You forgot your shoes.
Or to ease the burden on Mom.
Hopefully.
But one thing's for sure.
It's tough.
He who wears the empathy belly becomes empathetic. So how are you going to treat her for the rest of the pregnancy?
Like a queen.
So this thing's working.
It's working. It's worked.
Which is why the guys back in the newsroom wondered how it would work on me.
Well, there you go.
It's a great way to give them the feeling of pregnant. Not only the feeling of it, but the look. The whole body change image that moms go through when they get pregnant.
How they tie their shoes, or get in a tub, or go to sleep.
I feel like I'm gonna spill.
Funny how a 30-pound belly can shape up an attitude
Oh, I love her. I feel for her.
by nearly breaking a back.
How do you get it? Did you get it?
Got it.
Good shot?
Feel like a champ?
Feel very masculine.
We'll see you again next week with another edition of the Best of John Miller.
How's it going?